What's up, everybody? This is Cree coming to you from Austin, Texas, and today I want to talk with you about something that I think is pretty important, and it comes down to your own personal education, right? We had a call today where it was a networking event that I went to that was all virtual, which is great because we were able to just pop into the meeting and then we can just pop right back out and go back to our day, right? I'm really enjoying that. What I would say is the person that was on the call asked this question, which was, I'm an investor and I'm looking at getting into the short-term investing operations. I'm looking at, potentially buying or signing a master lease and then turning, that property into a shorter-term rental, which can mean a lot of different things. I want to first clarify what that means. So what our company does is we partner with landlords, with property managers, with apartment complex owners, with single-family homeowners, with multifamily homeowners, and we take a traditional rental, which kind of has a finite amount of income that you can charge based off of the going rents in the area, and we help clean up and furnish the property, professionally operate the property so that we can maximize its earning potential and partner with landlords, or if the landlord or the potential partner doesn't want to have anything to do with any of that business, then can simply just sign a long-term lease and give that person peace of mind. So what happens is we end up having a situation where as a landlord or as an apartment owner, you have this economic vacancy, right? Which in the apartment space, it's called economic vacancy. In single family rentals, it's just vacancy. You have this period of turnover where one person moves out and another person moves in, and that space of reletting is where you lose money. So what our company does is we rent from a landlord and we continue to rent beyond a traditional term. We'll sign a 12-month lease or a 24-month lease, and then at the end of the term, rather than moving out and having that vacancy period, which can be as long as 4 months in some cases, we just sign another lease. So we continue to release. And yes, you can get that with a traditional renter, but at the same time, you don't know if that's gonna happen. We know going in that as long as it's working out in the first year and we're able to actually turn a profit, that we're gonna want to rent it for longer. So that's another peace of mind that we offer our partners and the landlords that we work with, is giving them peace of mind in that long term. So the question in this community was, I want to get into the short-term space. I don't know how. I don't know if I should take a course. I don't want to waste time on YouTube. And my answer was this: if you've never done anything at all in the short-term space, you've never, leased out a space that you have on a short-term basis, which is less than 28 days, right? We'll call it less than 28 days. Maybe you have rented it out for a month-to-month basis, right? But you never rented out for a week or 2 weeks or whatever. Well, the first piece of advice I would give you is learn what your local rules and regulations are. Before you go and invest in a course, before you start watching YouTube videos, before you start getting a bunch of ideas about, oh man, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this, and I can make this much money, and you watch a bunch of YouTube videos and you get excited about the idea, but then you don't actually know how to execute. Before you do all that, figure out what's allowable in your city. And what kind of rules and regulations do you have to go through in order to get licensed or get certified or in order to even operate? When you book directly, when you deal directly with the end customer, what ends up happening is you get to set the rules, as long as they're within the rules of the environment that you're working in, right? Tennessee is totally different than Texas. Texas is totally different than California. Some counties in California are different from each other. So you really need to, the first starting point is, before you go out there and jump into something that you don't really understand, do a little bit of research, right? And then my recommendation was, okay, go out and actually try it. Get your first property, right? Because what's gonna happen is you're gonna learn a lot, and you're gonna learn a lot of mistakes, right? You're gonna make a lot of mistakes in the process. And then at that point, once you actually start generating some income, then go over and invest in some sort of program or coaching or mentorship or a course that will teach you something that you don't know. But when someone's first looking at this and saying, okay, I want to get into the space, well, you gotta figure out, what do you wanna offer within the space? Do you wanna be a property manager? Do you wanna be simply the investor that puts the money in and then you find an operator to operate the properties for you? Do you wanna go in and just simply fix and flip properties and then sell them to short-term rental operators? What aspect do you wanna be? Like, where in the value chain do you want to operate? Like, I'll give you an example. If you're an investor and you're used to finding single-family homes distressed under market value, and you're struggling really a lot to be able to make offers on these properties. Well, if you turn that property into a short-term rental, and let's say you book it out for 28 days or longer, right? It's still short-term, it's less than 6 months, but it could be like a month-to-month stay, but you book it out on corporate housing sites. Well, you're now renting to a totally different market than what you're used to, so your cash flow will be totally different. So then you can justify buying that property at a much higher rate, right? Versus simply buying it to sell it to an retail buyer, or buying it to sell to sell to a flipper, right? Somebody that's not the end buyer. So your numbers change. So if you want to just simply do that, that's already what you're doing, right? That's your business, that's your core competency. You're already doing wholesaling, right? Or you're already rehabbing properties and selling them to an end buyer. Well, then you just simply change who you're selling it to, and then you can make more money, right? And so you can offer a little bit more, which then helps you beat your competition. So my first piece of advice is figure out where in the value chain you want to be. Do you want to be an investor? Do you want to be an operator? Do you want to be a lending partner? Do you want to be someone that is going to, create a business and then hire all these components, right? And then just simply run the business, do the business management. So figure out that first. And if you're just looking at short-term rentals as like, oh man, I just want to get out of my job. Well, I would say from my perspective, again, I'm not the type of person to just go all in on every single hand. I like to really watch my money grow, and I like to really protect my money, because whenever I'm working with investor money especially, I want to make sure that I return that money to my investors intact. I'm okay with gambling my own money, but I don't want to lose my investors' money, right? That's the most important thing for me, because what happens is if I lose my investors' money, I lose their trust. So I would really caution you, especially if you're getting into real estate for the first time. If you've already been in real estate, that's one thing, that's great. But if you're getting into real estate for the first time, do your due diligence, do your research. We always say that in real estate, is do your due diligence, right? Understand what you're getting into. Look at the financials, go talk to somebody, work for somebody for free for a little bit, right? Go over and attend some RIAs and some meetups and some networking events, and join a local community, a local chapter of real estate. Hop on the blogs, go on the YouTube channels, absorb as much information as you can. Be careful though, because don't believe everything you read on a blog or everything you see in a YouTube video. Even this one, right? Go over and fact check it against other things, because what can happen is people can be wrong, right? People can be wrong. Even if they're a guru, they could still be mistaken. The information can be outdated. Check when the video was published. Check how recent it is. Go check your local county, right? And see what they say in terms of this particular type of business. If you're fixing a home and you went over to an auction, you bought the house, and you find out that, well, that house is actually on some sort of protected land, or better example is you buy a piece of land and you think, oh man, we're going to develop this, we're going to turn it into a 300 unit apartment complex. And then you find out after the fact that based on the zoning, you can't do that, right? Maybe you spent $500,000 on that. I actually had one of my mentors, that happened to him. He did it in Hawaii, and he didn't realize that it was a national preserve, and he lost $500,000 of not his money, his investors' money, which is even worse. So do your due diligence, do your research. If it means you have to go take a course, go take the course, right? You wouldn't go and try and be a doctor without actually getting certified, getting the information you need, right? You wouldn't just go on YouTube and try and Google or YouTube brain surgery, right? And if somebody does do that, I would not hire them as my doctor. I want the guy that's gone through medical school, spent 10 years in medical school, spent another 6 years tootling under somebody else and practicing on other people before they practice on my brain, right? That's one of the reasons why those people get paid so much money, is because they spent so much time practicing before they ever get the scalpel and start to cut you open. So I would look at it the same way. It's like, if you're really planning on running a real business, right? Don't look at this as a hobby. Don't look at this as just some side thing, right? Test small and then scale. Iteratively reinvest your dividends, your profits, right? Continue to roll it back into the business and build better systems, better processes, better relationships, and continue to grow the business, and grow it like this, not like this. But some people get so excited and they dump a bunch of money in and they go negative, and then they try and get back up to positive. Or they have a great surge and then they just kind of teeter off because they get unexcited about it, right? It's better to be slow and methodical and continue to compound over time than it is to just have like one spurt of energy and then you just die off, in my opinion. I don't know, what do you guys think? Comment down below, let me know your thoughts, feedback, feelings. If you do catch this on YouTube, be sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification so that you can get notifications whenever we post another video. I know I'm not doing it that often. I'm gonna be starting to post more content more frequently, give you guys updates on what we're doing. and kind of tell you which direction we're going as we go that direction. If you find it on Facebook, or if you're peeking in on some of my stories, then be sure to give it a like, give it a thumbs up, share it with somebody that could benefit from this conversation, and I'll see you next time.